Hey everybody, Jesse here. Welcome back to the Fit Forward Gym. Today, I'm going to take you through a 9-part movement series evaluation. At the end of this evaluation, you'll have a much better idea of where your movement dysfunctions and asymmetries are. And what that's going to do is help you know what movements to focus on and what parts in our mini movement series that are going to give you the most benefit, because you're going to understand your own challenges and dysfunctions. All you'll need is some kind of broomstick or PVC pipe and either a foam roller or a pillow. This is going to be basically to hug between your knees for one of the exercises. Also make sure you have a nice hard floor to work on and you're either in socks or in bare feet. So let's get started. The first test is a breathing test. And I just want you to lay down with your knees bent so that you take some pressure off the lower back. And see if when you breathe in, you can actually expand your diaphragm so it balloons out into your fingers, which are going to be right at the hip bone. All right? So when you breathe in, can you actually push those hip bones away and fill your belly with air like a balloon? Also, if you put your hands on your sides and your obliques, can you, and I have my thumbs right here, can you actually push east-west into your obliques and sides when you breathe in? So north-south, east-west balloon. How much can you fill up that diaphragm with air? And then let it all go. If you find you can't really push your fingers out with a breath in, you need to focus on part 1 of our movement series, breathing. For the second exercise, we're going to look at our ankle mobility. So what you're going to do is get your broomstick or PVC pipe, and you're going to set up in a kneeling position. You're going to put that stick right over your big toe, and you're going to make sure that foot is facing completely straight and that PVC pipe is straight. And then what you're going to see how far you can move outside of that PVC pipe without lifting your heel or spinning your foot. Okay? So how far can you get around? We'll compare one side. Maybe do 4 reps. And then we'll compare the other side. Okay. Big toe, straight foot, and just going straight out. And if you feel like one is caving in and moving the PVC pipe, or it can't go as far if it gets stuck before the other, that's a big deal. And you need to work on part 2, our ankle mobility and foot intrinsic strength series. You're going to really see a difference if you can mobilize that ankle and strengthen that foot. Okay? The third test is going to be a balance test, where you're simply going to make sure your foot is nice and straight and simply look straight ahead and lift one knee right to your belly button. And just pay attention how easy this is for you, how well you can hold your balance. Is the foot spun out or is it nice and straight? And then you'll compare that. Let's go to the right side. Okay, is it shakier? Is there more wobbling? Is the foot rotated out at all? And just make a mental note if one feels much harder than the other. Okay, good. Okay, our next test is one of the most important things that people miss, hip internal rotation. If you can't internally rotate your hip, it puts a lot of stress on your hip labrum joint right here. So what you're going to do is get in this position, squeezing either a foam roller or you can also squeeze a pillow or something. Keep this nice and still. See how far you can rotate one foot out and then how far you can rotate the other out. If there's a big asymmetry here or you feel a lot of catching in your hip capsule or hip, that's an issue. Okay, you can do both at the same time. One might be here, one might be here, and just pay attention if there's much of a difference. If there is, make a note, and you're going to want to go into our hip mobility series. That's going to be part 3, and you're going to get some nice hip internal rotation exercises there. Okay, next is a test of how your hip capsule is functioning. Okay, this is a really important test, and what we're going to do is we're going to put our chest up here, our butt down, and keep our knees a little bit bent. Okay, and we are going to bring our knee up and rotate it out. Okay, a lot of us sit like this with one leg crossed all the time. Now we're just seeing how that musculature works. Okay, that's one side, and you can always bring your knees a little further or closer. Here it's going to be harder. Here it's going to be easier. Okay, but pick your spot. Then we'll do the other side. Did you crunch? Did you come forward, or could you maintain a tall spine? Again, compare. Is one harder to turn than the other? Are you making any compensations? It's at this point that a lot of people get caught, and I'll explain in a later video how if you have a lot of tension in that turn, it can lead to a lot of hip capsule, knee and lower back problems. Okay, so if one's much harder to turn, make that note now. And if it is, you need to really focus on part 4, which is strengthening our hip capsule and making it healthier to be able to externally rotate and really access the glutes properly. Okay, the next step is a squat test. And again, make sure you're on a nice solid ground here. Feet straight, shoulder width apart, hands straight, and you're going to squat as low as you can and pay attention if one foot wants to rotate out at all. Does one foot want to do this as you're going down? If that's true, you have a few different problems here. One is at the ankle, and one is also at the hip capsule. So you'll need the ankle mobility series and the 3rd and 4th hip mobility series for this one. Okay, so let's do a few more. Again, pay attention if you're spinning, if one toe is lifting, and also which foot that is. It's probably the same hip that has trouble moving outward in the last test we did, which was that pigeon cross stretch. Okay, 3 more tests here. The next is the L-sit. So this is going to tell you a lot about your lower back and ability to pick things up off the ground. And just see how tall you can sit in this position. Do you have to round here? Do you have to lean back? Or can you nice and comfortably sit up in this L-sit? If you can, it's very likely you can touch your toes very easily, and also that you'll be able to pick up things and deadlift and do hip hinging exercises a lot more safely without putting any stress on your spine. Okay, next test, push-up test. Test the strength of your core. So we'll come down here. Okay, we'll bring the hands right about at the chin here, tuck our toes, and see if you can do one push-up, keeping a nice solid core. Okay, if you found you had to warm up here and then pressed up, it means that you have some foundational core stability issues, and that's where we're going to work on both 5 and 6, posture and core stability. And you're going to really learn how to properly work your core. It's not something that you want to crunch and crunch and crunch. In fact, that puts the back at a lot of risk of herniations and also decreases good posture. A good core is something that can withstand movement and be braced and strong with a tall spine when different forces are coming at it. So you'll get that in the later part of the series. And the last is, again, laying on the ground. And I just want you to pay attention. If you really flatten your back, so push your ribs down and pretend there's like a piece of paper under your lower back you're not going to let slide out, can you bring your hands up and touch the ground? Or do you have to pop your ribs out and bend your elbows? So if you make any of those compensations, flare your ribs or back or bend your elbows, what that means is that you're probably very tight through the pecs and shoulders and may be rounded here, and we're going to have to work up opening your posture, and that's going to be in part 6 of the movement series. So feel free to go through this again. If there are some things you questioned where you needed a few more reps to make notes, go ahead and do that. But I'd love you to write any notes down so you can redo this series after you've done the 6-part mobility series and see if you've made some improvements. So thanks so much for watching. Hopefully you understand your body a little bit better, and let's get to work on the series. Thanks. See you next time.